In a world that's constantly demanding our attention and energy, how do we actually protect our inner peace? Well, today we're going to unlock the secrets to emotional resilience. We're talking about building those unshakable internal boundaries you need to not just survive, but to really thrive. Let's dive in.
So let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? That feeling of being totally drained, maybe overwhelmed, kind of like you're a sponge for everyone else's stress? If you're nodding your head right now, then you've definitely experienced what we call boundary erosion.
So, what's the solution here? Well, it all starts with understanding this one core concept. See, internal boundaries, they aren't these big walls you put up to keep people out. Not at all. Think of them as a protective framework you build for yourself to guard your own mental and emotional space.
But to really get a handle on this, we need to go a little deeper. Right inside our own minds. Let's take a look at the neuroscience of what's actually happening when we feel so overwhelmed.
Okay, so our brain basically operates on two key systems. Think of your reflective brain, that's your prefrontal cortex, as the calm, logical CEO. And then you've got the reflexive brain, your amygdala, which is like the instant emotional alarm system. So, building resilience, it's all about training the CEO to manage that alarm system. It's just like strengthening a muscle.
So when our internal boundaries get weak, this is what happens inside us. Some kind of trigger goes off, and bam, the amygdala fires up that alarm. And then our body just gets flooded with the stress hormone cortisol. That right there is the biological stress loop in action.
And here's why this is so critical. If that stress loop is running all the time, it can actually start to damage the neurons in your prefrontal cortex. The very part of your brain you need to stay calm and regulated? The takeaway here is huge. This isn't just about feeling bad. It's about protecting your brain's actual hardware.
Okay, so how do we build up that protection? Well, the solution is in constructing a really clear framework for our internal boundaries. I kind of like to think of them as our four inner walls.
And these walls, they correspond to four key areas of our lives. There's the emotional, the cognitive, the behavioral, and of course the social or relational. So let's break down what each of these walls actually protects.
And this is where it all gets super practical. Think about it for a second. An emotional boundary, that gives you the freedom to not just soak up someone else's bad mood. A cognitive one, that protects your own judgment from manipulation, from things like gaslighting, so you can actually trust your own reality. A behavioral boundary, well, that's your permission slip to put your own well-being first. And a social boundary lets you live your own life totally guilt-free.
All right, so knowing the framework, that's step one. But putting it into practice, that's where the real transformation happens. So let's explore some incredibly practical tools you can use to start strengthening those inner walls.
I absolutely love this quote. It just perfectly illustrates a concept called compassionate detachment. And no, it's not about being cold or uncaring. It's about caring deeply, but also understanding that you can be there for someone without getting completely soaked in their storm. You're maintaining your emotional boundary.
Okay, here's a super simple but really powerful technique, and it's backed by neuroscience. It's called affect labeling. It's literally just the act of naming your emotion, just saying out loud, or even to yourself, I feel frustrated, or I am feeling overwhelmed. So why does that even work? Well, remember our two brain systems? Neuroscientists at UCLA actually found that when you label an emotion, you are literally activating the CEO, your prefrontal cortex, which then helps calm down the alarm system, the amygdala. It's like a little neurological magic trick you can perform anytime, anywhere.
And here are two more tools for your toolkit. First, cognitive reframing. This is all about challenging your negative thoughts. So instead of thinking, I'm a failure, you could reframe it as, I'm learning from this experience. Then there's active coping. This just means taking action no matter how small. Instead of just worrying about a huge project, you just write down the very first step. These simple actions literally rewire your brain for resilience.
Now here's the thing. None of these mental tools are going to work if you don't have the basic fuel in your tank. We have to talk about the physical foundation that's required for all of this work.
This is really the bottom line. Trying to maintain emotional resilience when you're physically exhausted, it's like trying to drive a car with no gas. It just won't work. Your physical health is the platform for your mental strength, period.
So, what fuels this resilience? Well, science points to three things that are pretty much non-negotiable.
Consistent sleep helps your brain process emotions and recharge. Regular aerobic exercise releases endorphins and lowers stress hormones. And believe it or not, a gratitude practice actually rewires your brain to focus on the positive. These are not just nice-to-haves. They are the absolute foundation of self-regulation.
And let's get really specific about sleep. That critical connection between your logical brain and your emotional brain, it needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep to function properly. If you skimp on sleep, you're literally weakening your own internal boundaries before your day has even started.
Okay, so with all these tools and strategies in mind, I want to leave you with what might be the most empowering idea of all: emotional resilience. It's not some trait you're born with, it's a skill you can build.
And it really all comes down to adopting what's called a growth mindset. Just believing that you can develop this ability, well, that's maybe the most important internal boundary of them all. It's the beliefs that you're not fixed. You can always grow stronger.
So let's reframe this whole idea, right? This isn't about becoming distant or cold or aloof. This is a profound act of self-respect. It's how you stay compassionate without completely burning yourself out. Honestly, it's emotional intelligence in its highest form. And now, it's over to you. A call to action. What is one small internal limit you can set for yourself today? Maybe it's deciding not to take on a colleague's stress. Or maybe it's just allowing yourself to say no without feeling guilty. What's it going to be?
Just remember this. Your brain is not set in stone. It's plastic. It can change. It can adapt. And you absolutely have the power to build your resilience, starting right now. What's that first step you're going to take?